Hello everyone, I'm Jateen Bharadwaj and welcome to the weekly current affairs for the Indian economy. This is part of the weekly sessions that we conduct on every Thursday. This time we are late by one day, sorry for that. And this is actually being brought by the Bhargavaya Edu-Tech. I'm Jateen Bharadwaj and I'll be taking this session for this week. Now, the economic current affairs which are mentioned or which are important for your examination are as follows. Now, for the mains examination, we have taken 8 mega clusters which are going to be set up for the shipbuilding industry in India. So we'll be talking about that industry, what is shipbuilding, what's the requirement of shipbuilding, the status of India in shipbuilding, every important dimension, because this is important for your mains examination under infrastructure area. Then comes the prelims related topic. So we will be talking about the inflation trend. That is, what is the latest inflation trend and what does it denotes? And I'm going to discuss all kinds of inflations today. So this session will help you to understand all kind of inflation related questions or the types of inflation that you ever face in the real life. Apart from that, we will also be talking about the latest trend on the direct taxes. What is direct taxes? How direct taxes are different from the indirect taxes, the types of direct taxes which are being collected in India, and basic description of all of them. So without wasting any time, let's start with the first topic. Now, the first topic that we will be discussing is with respect to the mega clusters for shipping in India. Now, India is set to sail, right? 8 mega clusters are going to be conducted or are going to be created, which will revolutionize the shipping industry in India. Now, this article we have taken from the Money Control. Similar article was published in the Mint also, because we take all these kind of sources to bring you the latest possible details in terms of economy. Now, India's mega shipbuilding plan unfolds. 5 greenfield, 3 brownfield facilities are going to be created. Now, this article comes with a specialized, you can say, knowledge and specialized content for one important area, and that is your GS paper 3. That is syllabus mapping if it is concerned. So in GS paper 3, we have infrastructure, and specifically you can see over here port related infrastructure, and shipbuilding is one of the part of that. So today we will be looking in details about the shipbuilding industry in India. So let's start. Now in 2024, 2021, 2014, 3-time infrastructure related questions have been asked by UPSC in the mains examination. And not only UPSC guys, this infrastructure related topic is important for your state PCS, for your bank exams, for your SSC exams. So all these kind of news articles are important for all the examinations that you are ever preparing for. So be ready for that. So in the UPSC, which is considered to be the toughest one, these are the 3, as you can see, air related questions have been asked, air infrastructure. They've asked questions related to the investment in infrastructure. They have asked a question with respect to the transportation in the urban area. So guys, who knows, they may also ask with respect to the port-led development and shipbuilding industry in India. So we'll be talking about that with this. Now, what has happened? Basically, let's discuss the context first. Now, something that has happened is India is likely to expand its shipbuilding capacity, and with 8 clusters along with the coastline. Now, biggest point is, what is a cluster? That's the point, right? So cluster is something, basically cluster means a kind of an overall development. Now in this overall development, what do we see? That we will have multiple facilities. For example, this area is for shipbuilding. This area is for inputs or parts. This area is for exports. This area is for transport. This is for finance. So the clusters that we are going to now develop, 8 clusters in India, these clusters will cater to the need of the country, where at a single point we will be providing all kind of facilities which are required for the shipbuilding in India. Now, when I say shipbuilding guys, what basically I mean? Shipbuilding actually contributes to 2 areas. Number 1 is civilian or commercial. The second one is defense. Now, obviously, India has already been building majority of India's defense needs, the aircraft carriers or aircraft carrier like INS Vikrant or the submarines, the frigate and all others have been manufactured in India. So that's okay. But when it comes to civil and commercial carriers, the containers, we are still lagging behind a lot. We do not even have a $1 billion industry in that. Forget billion, not even you can say $500 million industry. So this is a reason why India is exploring to build this kind of facility in the current context. So India is aspiring for 8 such clusters. So 8 such clusters will be created. Obviously, all these clusters are going to be created on the coastal areas, without a doubt. 3 in brownfield, 5 in greenfield. Now, what do you mean by brownfield, guys? Brownfield basically means redevelopment. Redevelop. So there is something which is already existing. We will redevelop that. We will bring expansion of the system. Let's say they have a shipbuilding industry already set up, but they do not have connectivity. Maybe they do not have the availability of finance, export access, or railways, airports. Everything will be provided to them. Greenfield is new. This is something which will be started as a new project from the scratch. So land acquisition will take place, right? New development will take place, infrastructure will be provided. And in this case, many of the states, for example, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Maharashtra are going to take participation. All of these states are coastal states, without a doubt. These clusters would provide shipping, manufacturing, equipment production, bunkering stations, insurance and even leasing activities. So that's why it's like a cluster, guys. And this cluster is the one that will be developed at 8 locations in India. Maritime India Vision 2030 and the Vision of 2047. Part of India's long-term planning. The second one is, of course, the part of Niti Aayog project. Now, both these, because 2047 is the 100 years of India's independence, right? And it's just like what, 21 years from now, just 2 decades around. Aim India's in the top 5 shipbuilding nations. India is not even top 10. Forget top 10. We are not even top 15 nations as far as shipbuilding is concerned. So we should go into top 10 as per the Vision 2030, and then we try to aspire to enter into top 5 shipbuilding nations in the world. Increase India's fleet from 5% to 7% and then to 69% in the next 20 years. 69% means more than 2/3 of India's fleet should be provided by Indians only. Indian companies, a ship manufactured in India, the ship manufactured by Indians, that kind of a development India is looking forward. Now the biggest target is why? Why do we need such kind of shipbuilding industry in India? The reason is very simple. 90% of the international maritime trade takes place by the internationally or the other countries' ships. India is no other case. In India also, we find too many, like over 90-95% of India's maritime trade goes through the vessels which are produced outside India. Who are producing that? China, Japan and South Korea. So these 3 countries are actually dominating the shipbuilding industry across the world, and India is a lot relying on these 3 nations. And to reduce this over-reliance, India had to focus a lot on its own domestic shipbuilding industry. State government have made special purpose vehicle. What is special purpose vehicle, guys? SPV is a specialized company, right? Specialized company, corporation, something created for a special functioning. For example, DMRC, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. Now, this company never existed before. This was created for a special purpose. That special purpose was to construct Delhi Metro. And it has joint ventures with multiple metros across India to provide expertise. In the similar fashion, many states have created a company that will look into the development of these 8 clusters. Why? Why do India need such kind of clusters? Do we have so much of money to invest? Or do we have no money to invest? The answer is very simple. India presently lacks a robust shipbuilding project or facility. We do not have large vessels being created in India. Depends on Chinese facilities for that, like many other countries. And all of you know, government is aspiring to reduce Chinese burden as much as possible. India's global share is only 1% in shipbuilding, only 1%. If 100 ships are being manufactured, which is a very high number because each ship takes a lot of time for manufacturing. If 100 ships are being manufactured, India produces one of them. Major economies are looking for a new facilities because over dependence on China or China-centric development or China-centric international trade is now not a normal thing. Many countries are aspiring for diversification, especially countries which are in Asia and Africa. And India can provide a good alternative to China in this regard. We have a cheap labor, we have a cheap production cost, we have a plenty of raw materials which are being available. So India can provide that given the government support. US is already expanding its shipbuilding industry. So if India right now does not focus on more, right? US has already imposed extra fees on the Chinese vessel. So China and US, they are fighting at their own level. They are competing with each other, right? And when they are competing with each other, what they are actually doing? They are actually making inroads for India to enter in this area. Now shipbuilding, right, as you can see, this is just an animation, guys. Shipbuilding requires a lot of effort. But guys, there's a huge benefit as well. It's not something which will start overnight. It will take around 5 to 6 years to set up a proper cluster. But there are numerous benefits of that. And if the UPSC asks a question on that, you should have points to explain that. These are the ones. Induction of advanced technology. Yes, India will have advanced technology and this will be brought up into India. India will be doing that with hands-on. Job creation, of course. Each cluster has the ability to create at least 10,000 jobs, guys. Yes, each cluster can create as much as 10,000 jobs. If we have 8 clusters, it will create 80,000 jobs. We can add 2 more also to make it 1 lakh. Backward linkages. Whenever a new industry is being set up, they provide backward linkages. That is, they provide a demand to rest of the industries or other industries. For example, electronics demand will increase. Steel demand will increase. Of course, it is made up of steel, right? It's not plastic. Engineering industries, they will also get more demand. For example, we will have navigation related products will be there, pumping related will be there, electric motor related things will be demanded, more and more demand will be created, so backward linkages will be there. Promotion to the blue economy, of course, water-led economy. Make in India will be promoted, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is indigenization, will be promoted under this. Reduction in the import dependence of the vessels. Of course, as I told you, India still depends on 95% of the vessels coming from outside. That won't be a case anymore. Push towards the defense manufacturing. So once we get more expertise in terms of the commercial ones, definitely defense will also help it, because the same cluster can be used for the defense manufacturing also. Why to depend on the future? Higher bargaining capacity of India. If India has its own vessels, right? If India has its own vessels, it can bargain the way China is doing right now. So if China today says कि I'm not going to provide my vessels to XYZ country, of course, it is the upper hand, it's the advantage to China. India can do the same if they create more and more vessels, at least for itself. Then come rental income for the shipping companies. Of course, the companies who will manufacture this will create more and more rental income for itself. Obviously, they will sell this or they can provide this on lease, these vessels, and these vessels will go across the world, will provide facilities, and Indian companies are going to earn in dollars or foreign exchange. This is the present status, where India stands right now and what globally we are aspiring for. Now you can see through this table. Now this is the present status. $150 billion is the current valuation of shipbuilding industry in the world. India How much does India has? Not even 100 million. Yes, guys, not even, we are not even close to 1%. Not even close to 1% of that industry. It is aspiring to become around 155 and it will cross $200 billion in the next 7-8 years. What India is aspiring? India is aspiring to reach from here to at least here. That is around $8 billion. Now it's a very huge aspiration, guys. I mean, from 90 million to 8 billion. It's a huge jump. But that can be possible if we go with this 8 cluster model as of now. Issues and challenges. Obviously, guys, India is a developing country, and in every sector we do face developmental issues. Here also there are too many of them. If India is saying we are aspiring to reach it to $8 billion in the next few years, do we have that? Do we have that capacity? India lacks integrated maritime clusters already. We do not have maritime clusters in the existing phase. For example, in defense we are manufacturing defense vessels, right? We are manufacturing frigates, fighters and others, right? Carriers. We are manufacturing them at a specified located, specified locations, which are completely under the government control. They have an infrastructure which is only catering to the one demand, which is the defense demand. For example, we have Cochin shipyard. We have Mazgaon shipyard. They are catering to whom? They are catering to the defense needs. So we do not have well integrated maritime clusters. We do not have component suppliers. Let's say if I want to create a component. Most of the ships will not be constructed at the same point, they will be assembled. So for that we require suppliers. Now when we require suppliers, what do we need? We need a well integrated back-end channel. That is absent in India. Research and development is missing. How many times do we find naval architects, naval engineers? How many do we have that? How many do we have research scholars in terms of maritime industry? We are almost negligible. Close proximity, right? Leading to the inefficiency. So obviously, we have to provide all these before moving ahead. Restricted access to the international markets. India, as of now, imagine the case, guys. Even if we start with these clusters, we will be struggling a lot to find out international supply. Consumers for this, because China and Japan and Korea, they are already competing in the international level and they are providing things at a very cheaper rate with higher technology, and we have not even started yet. So how we are going to have a greater access in the international market? That's the biggest question. Expensive capital. Creating a ship requires a long-term project. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years to build a ship. A lot of labor is required. Skilled labor is required. We don't have that. And if we don't have skilled labor and required inputs, it is going to be an expensive affair. Who is going to provide money for that? Inadequate dry docks. It's a geographical phenomena, guys. We do not have too many integrated, or surplus dry docks, because shipbuilding require dry docks, not the docks which are being created near the coast and ships are sailing in the water. We construct a ship, we manufacture a ship off the water. Lack dedicated maritime financing. How many times do you see a bank financing the shipbuilding company? It's very rare. Without money, no industry can flourish. The same is here. Fierce rivalry. South Korea 25%, Japan 80%, 18%, China 47%. I mean, look at this case, guys. Right? Together they are constituting around 90-95% of the international demand. Competing them and creating a space along with them will be a tough task. Commercial ships are under private manufacturing while defense are under public manufacturing. Government does not enter into the ship manufacturing industry. Private does not enter into the defense manufacturing. Then how we are going to create an integrated setup where both can work properly? We don't have PPP model for that yet. Higher cost of operation and low productivity, which actually is a case of every industry in India. So we have a higher cost of production. We are producing one of the most expensive items in terms of cost in the world. In fact, right from the agriculture to the service sector, the inputs are of expensive, apart from if I exclude labor cost in that. India does not subsidize its shipbuilding industry like China. China provides heavy subsidy to the shipbuilding industry, like credit subsidies, their wages subsidies, their area, cheap area will be provided, a dedicated area will be set up by the government for that, free infrastructure facilities will be provided, all these kind of services are being there. Lack of inputs like marine grade steel, we don't have that. If we have that, that is being used for the defense sector, and which is a very small one. Navigation system, propulsion equipment, where do we have all these things? If we want to manufacture a ship, we require every input possible. And if we start the clusters with all or 100% import of the inputs, it's of no reason. We have to manufacture from the scratch. Then only it will benefit India. If we are importing everything and then assembling in India, right? It's make in India, not assemble in India. Shortage of highly skilled labor, specialized engineers, never engineering or architects. India's ship repair market is also underperforming or underutilized. India is known for dismantling a ship. We are not known for repairing a ship. Because obviously, ship is a machine. If it goes on a work, it will come for the repair as well. And if we can provide at least repairing facility, so the ships which are being manufactured in India will also be repaired in India. Obviously, right? If a car is being manufactured in India and you have a service center in India, then it's a win-win situation. Indian shipbuilding industry suffers from old vessels, while International Maritime Organization, IMO stands for International Maritime Organization, they are looking for green energy now. And China has already started that. China has started with hydrogen vessels. China has started with nuclear vessels. China has started with solar vessels. And we have not even started with diesel vessels. Way forward. Every problem has a solution. So till now, we have listed down all the problems. Now we will look into the solutions of those problems. Implementing a long-term, attractive financial assistance, because finance is the key. If we can provide finance at the best possible rates, everything will be sorted out. So shipbuilding finance assistance policy was adopted years back, right? It should be implemented properly. This policy, I'm repeating it again, it is already existing in India, but it has not been implemented properly. Integrated maritime cluster, this solution is already under the scheme, so we are creating 8 clusters for them. Bringing together shipbuilding, ancillary unit, design firms, research institute, everything. In cluster, you provide every possible input at a single place. Dedicated maritime development fund or a dedicated bank can be created for this, and I'm pretty sure this bank is going to be a profitable unit or a venture for that. Classification of the ships as an infrastructure priority, because if something is being under the priority sector, or if anything is under the infrastructure, it is going to provide, or it is going to have easy access of bank credit. So if we cannot have a bank, at least we can have priority sector lendings, which is coming to the shipbuilding. But the biggest question is a large ship priority? That's the biggest question. Now government has to sort out that, but right now government has already included the large ships into infrastructure as a case. Technology transfer, of course, Japan, Korea are good partners to India in this case, so we can have technology transfer in that. India, Japan have a very good relationships as far as all these things are being concerned. Domestic procurement policy, basically government should come up with a policy where government should purchase, right? Government can purchase, or there could be a memorandum of understanding between two companies, the one who uses the vessel and the one who manufactures the vessel. So make in India and buy in India. Comprehensive skill development program, obviously, and this should be provided within the clusters, right? There can be a skill development institution in the cluster itself. Get a skill, get a job at the same place. Ease of doing business. Yes, paperwork need to be simplified, guys. If paperwork does not simplify, it becomes more and more complex. Easy setup of the units, easy access to the credit, easy access to the skill development, easy access to the technology. Everything should be easily provided with less and less paperwork. And lastly, support ancillary MSME. Those MSMEs, small, medium and micro, small and medium enterprises which provide basic things. Like let's say in a vessel you require chairs, right? In a vessel you require some plastic work, some leather work. In this case, MSME should be integrated. So large scale industries coming together with the small scale industries to provide the needs of each other, that's the best model that you can use. What measures have been taken by the government in this regard? Very important, guys. Very, very important. Now, in the recent budget, that is budget financial year 26, measures have been introduced to promote shipbuilding industry, and that's why this time government is serious about it. That's why this article was published in multiple newspapers. 25,000 crore has already been provided as a development assistance to the shipbuilding industry. Large ships are added to the list of infrastructure, as I mentioned before, right? So purchasing them, buying them, maintaining them, easy credit can be provided from the banking sector. And last, extended basic custom duty exemptions on the raw material. So if let's say I have a company and I'm manufacturing these ships, so I can get easy raw material inputs for the construction of these buildings for the next 10 years. Yes, so easily for the next 10 years, anyone can avail this kind of a credit and go for shipbuilding and basically the promotion of a company for shipbuilding. Now, given this understanding, guys, now we have gone through what is the matter, what is going to be set up, what are the benefits, what are the challenges India faces, the shortcomings, the way forward, government approach. So you have a complete overall picture of the shipbuilding industry in India along with the data and important government initiatives. Now you are in a position to easily answer this particular question. I would request all of you, all the viewers, to please go through this question and read it properly and try to answer this. If you are looking for the notes, so all these notes that I am discussing in this class right now, I am discussing in this video right now, are given in the description box. Click the link and download all these notes for you. Let's start with the second one. Now this article is basically on inflation. The June inflation, that is retail inflation, right, have cooled further. Further means previously it was 2.82 in May. Now it has closed down to 2.1. This is the lowest in the last 77 months. So before COVID, we have this kind of a situation. Now after COVID, this is the first time when we have reached so close to the 2% of the retail inflation, guys. Retail, the inflation that is faced by you, the inflation that is faced by me as a final consumers. So this article was published in the Business Standard. The same article was there in Economic Times. This was there in the Hindu newspaper as well, the beloved newspaper of the civil servants, aspirants. So let's start. Now, is inflation important for your UPSC examination? These questions prove that. Look at these questions. 2020, a question was asked on WPI and CPI, two indices that measures the inflation. In 2015, they asked a question on consumer price index for the industrial workers. In 2021, they asked a question on demand pull inflation. There are many others. I mean, there are 6-7 other questions, but I am just going to give you the highlights that how inflation is important for the UPSC prelim examination. Now, given this understanding, guys, let's start understanding what is the context of the present status, what is the present status of the inflation in India and how it is actually being functioning. After that, we will read about all kinds of inflations, the types of inflations that we have in the economy. After this, you will never be facing any problem with identifying what is inflation. Context. So, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which also is responsible for National Statistical Organization, Central Statistical Office, NSO, CSO, right? They publishes this CPI, retail inflation, that is CPI, Consumer Price Index. And here it has reached 77 months low to about 2.1%. Well, CPI core remained at 4.5. Now CPI, this is headline. Headline means which includes fuel and food. And this CPI core, they exclude the prices of food and fuel. So basically the core one shows you a true picture, because guys, food and fuel are very highly fluctuating. You can also call it fuel, or you can call it energy. In some places you will see food and energy, because food prices, obviously, they fluctuate very easily. On the other hand, the WPI, that is wholesale price index, which is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, right, has turned negative. The prices are declining. This is known as deflation. This is known as deflation. The prices are actually reducing in India now at wholesale level. What's the difference between wholesale and the consumer? The difference of taxes, right? And the share of the retailer. Reasons. What are the basic reasons, guys? For CPI, the deflation, right? In CPI, it was a deflation in the key items such as vegetable, pulses, spices, meat. So the food items are becoming, their prices are reducing now. If not reducing, not increasing too much, right? That's why CPI headline is less and CPI core is more, right? Healthy agricultural activity. So monsoon this year has more or less has been good, right? In many parts of India, not, I cannot say in all part of India, but in more majority part of India, it has been pretty good. WPI. Why WPI is negative? The reason is manufacturing saw a contraction. Now, when manufacturing saw a contraction, the supply has reduced. So there has been a stock clearance. Stock has been now clearing. Price is not increasing because the demand and supply mismatch has not taken place. So these are the two reasons for which the CPI and WPI has been reduced over the past 1 month. Now, with this given understanding, let's move towards understanding what is inflation all about. So in this table and the consequent 3 other tables, I am going to give you the once in a lifetime complete understanding of how many types of inflations do we have, in how many types the price actually changes. So we have demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, built-in inflation, creeping inflation, sellowing inflation, shrinkflation, deflation, disinflation, right? Skewflation, hyperinflation. I'm going to discuss everything today. So stay tuned, right? Let's start. Types of inflation. So first is demand pull inflation. Demand pull basically means when the demand increases, demand becomes more than the supply. Supply could not match the demand. It's the instant one, right? Total demand of goods, services outstrips the supply. Simple. So demand is greater than supply. So this is demand pull. Demand is pulling the inflation upside. Increase in consumer spending, obviously. So now government is talking about 8th pay commission. When the 8th pay commission is being implemented, people will have more money in their hands. For a short period of time, you will find for 6 months to about a year, you'll find there is a slightly spike in the inflation. Why? Demand pull. Government spending may increase, which happened after the COVID. Investment may increase, exports may increase because exports provide more money to the country. Loose monetary policy, lower interest rate, which is actually the reason right now because RBI is going through accommodative monetary policy a lot. Impact. It assists in growing economy. So if there is a demand pull inflation means, guys, demand is increasing, it's a positive sign. It's a positive sign, right? So if it is increasing gradually, it's okay. It's not a matter of worry. The second one is cost push. Cost is pushing up the prices. That's why it is known as cost push inflation. Now, cost push inflation basically means what? Cost of producing goods and services increases, forcing business to raise the price. Simple. So let's say if I am manufacturing a bread and the price of wheat flour has increased, so I will increase the price of my wheat. If I am running a restaurant and the price of all the vegetables and everything has increased, so my cost of production of food or the cuisine has increased, so I will increase the price of my menu cost, right? Rising wages could be the first reason. Raw material cost may increase because see, wages is also a part of input, guys. Supply chain disruption, all of a sudden some supplies have been disrupted. For example, it usually happens in case of oil, fuel. Natural disaster, higher taxes, higher regulation, GST may increase. So the supply will, the price will definitely goes up. Yes, it reduces aggregate supply, even occur and cause for the stagflation. Stagflation means inflation is rising, but the economic demand is slowing down. Now, I'll come to the stagflation separately, but stagflation basically means stagnant inflation. Economy is stagnant, but the prices are rising, which is not a good sign for at all because it leads to unemployment. Then comes built-in inflation, where past inflation leads to the expectation of the future inflation and creates a cycle. So basically, people actually aspire and think that in the last year we had 5% inflation, so this year also we will have 5% inflation. And they changes their consumption pattern accordingly. Not only that, not only consumers, even producers also changes their consumption pattern according to that. So workers demand higher wages because they saw the inflation previously. So let's say there was a 5% inflation, so workers will demand 7% increase in their wages. Obviously, wages should increase more than the inflation, otherwise nobody is going to have higher purchasing power. So worker demand higher wages. 2, maintain purchasing power, which employer pass on the higher prices. So cost increases, hence cost push inflation leads to the built-in one. It creates a wage price spiral in the country. That's why I told you when 8th pay commission will come, it will create a built-in inflation for a shorter period of time, 6 months to 1 year. The last one is creeping inflation, very, very slow, 1 to 3%. When the prices are increasing very, very slowly, it usually happens in developed economy. US is also going through the same point. This is where India is right now. So June 2025. This is where India is going through the creepy inflation or creeping inflation. Creeping means moving very, very slowly, right? Normal economic growth, moderate increase in the money supply. That's it. These are the major reasons. So if money supply is increasing very, very slowly, RBI is monitoring that. Considered healthy for economic growth as it encourages everything. It encourages spendings, investment, predictability, right? It is very, very good sign. So right now, if India is going through a creeping inflation, it's a good sign for Indian economy. Please understand that. Moving ahead to the other ones. Walking inflation, galloping inflation, hyperinflation, stagflation. These are the other 4. Walking inflation. If the rate is 3 to 10%, it is called as walking inflation. Duration, June 2012. Yes, when Manmohan Singh government was there, the last phase of his second tenure, we saw that India was going through an inflation which was close to 2 digits, 10, 11%. It was very high. Not because of the Prime Minister, because the world inflation was very high. And that is known as walking inflation. Is it good? No. It creates persistent demand pull or cost push factors, less controlled monetary expansion. Why we have 10% of inflation? Because monetary contraction is very small. Government is putting up money, right? You may have heard about the terms like a cheap monetary policy, helicopter money, or giving money in the hands of the people, increasing the wage rate. All of a sudden, government has provided a lot of money in the hands of the people through MG They have increased the wages. They are providing more jobs, which happened in COVID also. So whenever there is an expensive, you can say liberal monetary policy, and in fact liberal fiscal policy, you find this kind of inflation measure. A warning sign, yes. If the inflation touches 2 digit, it's a warning sign. We should understand that properly, right? It is becoming more serious. It can erode the purchasing power because as the things are becoming more and more expensive, people stop buying that because they cannot afford everything. Then comes the galloping inflation. Galloping inflation is a bit higher. It is in double to triple digit. It is rapid, uncontrollable and accelerating increasing. So once it reaches 10%, that is once the inflation reaches 10%, it will gradually reaches 3%. Zimbabwe as of now is going through this galloping inflation. It is around 150%. The latest data, 120 to 150%. which is like 100 times more than India. That's why their purchasing power is declining like hell. Then why it happens? Money printing. Basically, guys, people have more money, they will buy more. But after some point of time, the supply will be fixed. So the prices will increase. Severe supply shocks, loss of confidence in the currency, political instability. Most of the cases, political instability is the one. Whenever a new leader comes to the power, they feel the same issue, right? Instability, loss of currency, savings wiped up, emergence of economic collapse. So if the interest rate a person, I'm just talking about the savings drying up. If the person is earning an interest rate of, let's say, 5% or 10% on the savings rate, and the inflation is 20%. So it's a loss in keeping money with the bank, because interest that you earn is 8 to 10%, inflation is 20%. So it's better to use money rather than keeping it in the savings account. Then comes hyperinflation. Hyperinflation means thousands of millions of percentage. Example, Venezuela. In Venezuela, it was 1.5 lakh %. Yes. 1,50,000 and even more than that. That was a percentage increase in the money. They have $1 trillion. They have $1 trillion note. Right? This is known as hyperinflation. Then, catastrophic monetary expansion. Government thought they will print more and more money. What happened? Inflation. Nothing else, right? Hyperinflation. Currency becomes useless. You will find people burning currency notes because it's good to burn a currency note. It's like a scrap, like a 5 days back newspaper. It's like a scrap. They start burning the money to generate heat, to cook food. That is even cheaper. Burning currency notes to cook food on a gas stove, is far cheaper than using the money to buy something. You are carrying around 20 kg of currency to buy a single bread. That is what hyperinflation is. Then comes stagflation. Stagflation basically goes against the Philip curve, right? It is traditional Philip curve theory is being denied. The question is that Philip curve says that when gradual inflation takes place, higher inflation, just higher, like 3 to 5%, it promotes the development of businesses. When businesses grow along with the inflation, they demand more employment. So employment also grows. When employment grows, unemployment reduces. Coming to the back again. When inflation increases, unemployment reduces. This is known as Philip curve. There's an inverse relationship between inflation and the unemployment. So as the inflation increases, unemployment reduces. But what happens if the inflation is increasing but unemployment is also increasing? That is known as stagflation. Unemployment is rising means stagnant economy. Inflation is also rising, so stagnant economy meets with inflation is known as stagflation. So this is what stagflation is, combination of high inflation and high unemployment. It goes against the Philip curve. Typically results from the severe supply shocks like oil crisis. It happened in India in 1991, right? With ineffective demand management policies and many things else. COVID also has actually created a same kind of a situation. Then comes the other. So we have deflation. Deflation basically means decrease in the prices. So June 25, WPI is negative. This is deflation, guys. In the latest trend, we have seen prices are declining. Why it happens? Aggregate demand. People are not demanding. If people are not demanding, the producers are ready to sell even at us cheaper prices. So they don't, they're not concerned a lot about the price decrease. Technological advancement increases the supply. Tight monetary policy, oversupply of goods. Basically, prices reduce when supply exceeds demand. These are the reasons for that. Can lead to the reduced spending, lower profit, real debt may increase, wage cuts may go for economic contraction. Yes, that's why I told you guys. A little bit of inflation, 1 to 3%, creeping inflation is the best thing an economy can go through. Negative prices are not a good sign. Disinflation. Disinflation means inflation may increase, but the percentage has reduced. Let's understand that. I'm just taking a hypothetical example, guys. Let's say 2024 CPI increased by 6%, right? In 2025 CPI came down to 4%. Still prices are increasing. It is also increase. First is also increase, second is also the increase. So both are inflation. But the percentage has declined. Inflation is there, but the percentage increase has declined. So basically it shows inflation is slowing down. Inflation is slowing down. So inflation is actually being reduced. So this is what India is right now going through. Yes, this is what India is going through right now. Right, June 24 to 25. So a slowdown in the rate of inflation. Inflation is there, but the rate of inflation has reduced. This is known as disinflation. Successful monetary tightening, moderation of the demand, increased supply and efficiency. Good, good. Everything is good. Everything sounds good. Generally view as a positive thing, but should never reach zero. That we should keep in mind. Core inflation, inflation that excludes volatile components like food and fuel. Right? So that is excluded. Headline inflation, which includes everything. Even the volatile. Food and fuel are volatile, right? And both of them, they shows short term. It shows short term fluctuation, represents overall change in the overall economy, right? Basically, the last one, which is the headline inflation. This is a real identification of the inflation in the country, especially in India. So whenever the government talks about, whenever RBI uses CPI, because all of you know, RBI uses CPI for its inflation targeting, not WPI. So when RBI uses, RBI's main focus is headline inflation, not the core. Core is just an indicator. Headline inflation is very important because, guys, food is included. Food and fuel is something which every consumer in the world uses, right? So direct impacts the household budget and can be very volatile. It impacts household budget. And what is the purpose of RBI? They are not reducing or increasing inflation. They are not changing the policy rates to benefit the billionaires. They target common men, households. That's why headline inflation is important for them. The last three. Shrinkflation. Shrinkflation basically means that the amount of a good is reducing, price remains the same. So let's say first you are getting a Cadbury chocolate. So in Cadbury chocolate, let's say in 5 rupees of Cadbury chocolate, you are getting 50 grams of chocolate or 20 grams of chocolate. Now in the same 5 rupees, you are getting 10 grams. So the quantity has reduced. You'll find this across FMCG products, right? Price remains the same, but the quantity of the good being supplied reduces. This is known as shrinkflation. Shrink means the size has reduced, right? Cost of production keeps rising. That is the reason. So they don't want to lose the customers. That's why they keep the prices same. Adopted to maintain the loyalty of the customers towards the particular one. So they just want to keep the loyalty inclined towards a particular product. Then comes skewflation. Skewflation basically means prices of only certain goods and services changes. Only certain goods. Let's say prices of all the goods have remained same, but the automobile prices have increased. Price of everything remains the same, but the prices of televisions have increased. Now this may be because of anything, right? Demand and supply mismatch could be there. Certain government policies can be there. Let's say in a particular budget, government has reduced GST on televisions. So only the price of television will increase. This is known as skewflation. It's a very rare phenomenon, right? Then comes structural inflation, guys. Structural inflation takes place when the prices of certain selective sectors in the economy increases. For example, only the price of steel is increasing. So if the price of the steel is increasing, every sector which uses a steel will see the inflation. Let's say the price of fertilizers increases. So entire agriculture we see the change in the prices or the agriculture or the food items. So that's why rise in the prices due to structural bottlenecks. Could be because of the bottlenecks, could be because of the government policies, could be anything. Agriculture, productivity, infrastructure, could be anything. But it impacts a particular sector. That's why it is known as structure. The structure of that particular sector is being under stress. Now, I think after these many, we have discussed like 15 around types of inflations. Now, if UPSC or any other competitive examination, you face any kind of question with respect to what is inflation or the types of inflation, I'm pretty sure you are going to give all the ideas from here. Now, coming to the next item. Inflation is measured in two different types of indices, CPI and WPI. So let's quickly take a dive into what is CPI and what is WPI, because in the articles, in the news articles, you will often come across these two only. Now, CPI stands for Consumer Price Index, while WPI stands for Wholesale Price Index. Now, both are being used for retail and wholesaler measurement. Basically, guys, wholesaler is the one who sells a particular good at a lower prices but higher quantity. Retailer is the one who actually faces the consumer. He is the one who sells the final price. After him, after the retailer, there is no addition in the prices. A consumer cannot add or cannot change the prices. Consumer is the final one. And who sells a product to the consumer? The retailer. And who sells retailer is wholesaler. So wholesaler may purchase directly from the factory, they purchase from the godowns, they can purchase a thing at a larger amount, hence they take the benefit of lower prices. So obviously you will find that wholesale prices are lower than the retail prices, because after the wholesale prices you find the addition of some taxes, addition of the retailer's margin, transportation cost and many things. That's why CPI is always ahead of the WPI, and in the news article also you will see WPI has turned negative. CPI is at 2.1%. It is collected by NSO, which is under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It is collected by Office of Economic Advisor under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, that I already discussed in the initial part. Published on 12th of every month. This is published on 14th of every month. Items are included in such a fashion. It includes 299 items for which average monthly prices are being calculated. This includes 697 items, because guys, there are too many items which do not even reach the consumers. That's why the list is in CPI it's low. Categories, food beverages has the highest weightage. That's why whenever the food prices increase, CPI jumps. Pan, tobacco, intoxicants 2.8%, clothing and footwear, housing, light, fuel, basically everything that impact a consumer or the life of a household. On the other side, here we change the things. The majority is given to the manufacturing items. So manufacturing items actually contribute 64% of the weightage. WPI will change if manufacturing goes through some kind of shocks. CPI will change if fuel, food and beverages, right, they actually take the priority, right? Then comes the base year. Base year basically means that what is the foundation. So if we are saying CPI has increased by X percentage on what? X percentage on 2012. WPI has increased or decreased on by X percentage on the base of what? On the base of prices in 2011 and 12. Moving ahead. Then comes the other dimensions of CPI and WPI, basically weightage. Now here consumer price index, 39% out of the 12 subgroups contains food and beverages. Very, very high weightage, right? On the other side, you will see Food index only 24%. So here food does not have high priority. Here manufacturing has high priority. Here food has high priority. Then role of the food item very high role. Here less impact. So if the food prices increase, CPI will be more impacted, WPI will not be impacted much. Then comes the weightage of the fuel and the power, right? 8%. Category of the transportation, category of the fuel and light, category of the transportation, communication, right? Includes in separate category of the fuel and power. So here also fuel and power has low percentage. CPI has the high percentage. Highest weightage given to food and beverages, given to manufacturing. That's why they respond to easily. So guys, whenever you hear about WPI is increasing too much, it means the manufacturing sector is under stress. Whenever you hear CPI is increasing too much, it means the food, beverages, fuel, these sectors are under stress. Then comes services included, on the other side, not excluded. That is not included. Then comes direct taxes, indirect taxes included. Yes, no, not included. WPI gives you the wholesaler price, guys. Why? It will show you GST. But this shows the GST. Then comes use in monetary policy by RBI. Yes, by RBI. This was asked by UPSC in the prelim examination also, so it is used by RBI. On the other side, is this used by RBI? No. WPI is of single type. CPI has three other types. CPI agriculture labor, CPI WI means industrial workers, and CPI RL means you can have rural labor. So these three are also by the Labor Bureau, not by the economic advisors, not by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It is by the Labor Bureau. They provide by Labor Bureau, they provide prices faced by the actual prices faced by three labor groups: agriculture labor, industrial worker, rural labor. Rural labor is the one which is involved in non-agricultural activities. So these three inflations are separately being measured in India. But the most important one is CPI combined. CPI rural and CPI urban is also there. Similarly, we have WPI. So for this examination, for any other competitive examination, guys, try to focus on what is CPI and WPI rather than anything else. Now with this discussion, guys, I am leaving you with these two practice questions. This is your question number 1, right? So you can pause the video right now, go through this question, try to answer it. Then we have another question here. Pause the video, go through the question and do comment in the chat box. Now this article is basically with respect to the total collection on the direct taxes. Now UPSC examination has been prominent with respect to the tax system in India. They've asked a question on direct taxes, they have asked question on indirect taxes. In fact, they have asked questions on multiple times on GST as well. And if you want to know more about GST, we have already discussed GST in the previous video. So you can go through the first week of weekly current affairs on this particular channel. So let's start. The net direct tax receipts have come down 1.3%, corporate tax slips to 3.7%. Now this article we have taken from two multiple sources. So first one is Business Standard, second one is the Hindu newspaper. Now the article says that India's total tax revenue coming from the direct taxes, basically like income tax, corporate tax, personal income tax to be specific. Then we have security transaction taxes and many other, right? So these are the taxes that has come down. The revenue has come down. Now what does it shows? Does it mean the economy is also slowing down? Could be. Does that mean that the demand is slowing down? There's an unemployment, people are not getting enough money? Or the people who are paying the income tax have come down? Or is it just because of the structural changes? Or is it because of kind of a specific period of a year? Well, in the first quarter of every financial year, you will notice that both the personal income tax as well as the corporate tax goes down. But this time it is slightly more. I mean, the decline is slightly more. Now, this may be because of the slowing down of the demand, this may be because of the slowing down of economic activity, or maybe because of the shift in the government's collection rate. Because government has provided a lot of exemptions in the current budget. So in 2025 union budget, which is also for the 2026 financial year, government has provided a lot of exemptions to the income tax. And that could be one of the reason why the filing of the taxes have been slower. Could be exemptions are also more, or could be the tax evasion is very high. Now, reasons have not been explained properly in the articles because government has not come up with that, but we will be talking about the trend in detail and what are the direct taxes. So let's start. Now, the context says that India's net direct tax collection has contracted 1.3% to about 5.36 or 63 trillion rupees. As of 10th of July, with corporate taxes dropping to 3.4%. So both corporate personal income tax as well as the corporate tax has declined. Impact when there is no rate cuts, right? So what is the impact, guys? Is this tax collection is because of the rate cuts, right? If there is no rate cut, rising fiscal deficit. What do I mean by rate cut? Rate cut basically means if government has reduced the tax rate, if government has not reduced the tax rate, and then after that the income tax collection is going down, it shows what? It shows that fiscal deficit is going to rise. Government has less revenue but more expenditure. Then low spending potential of the government. Once government has less revenue, they will spend less in the next cycle. Sign of declining economic activity, which proves because the corporate tax has gone down, which may prove that the corporates are not earning that much of income in the last first quarter. That's why they do not have enough tax payment this time. Could be. When rates are cut, if this is because of the rate cuts which were announced in the budget, then may lead to the rise in consumption. Basically, because now the tax rate was reduced in the income tax, so people have more disposable income. Given more disposable income, they are now going to spend more, obviously, right? So consumption will increase, which will help push the corporate activities. Their demand will increase, product demand, consumer durables, and direct fiscal stimulus will be given to the economy. So guys, it is just a matter of time. Let the government decide which one is the real reason for this, rate cuts or not the rate cut. But for us in UPSC examination and many other competitive examination, guys, basically you are supposed to get the basic idea or the difference between the direct and the indirect taxes. Direct taxes, income, assets or profit. These are the three things on which income tax, direct taxes are being basically imposed. On the other hand, indirect taxes are on manufacturing, import, sale of goods and services. Manufacture, bring it from outside, basically purchase, import, or sale. Basically acting as a middleman. Here, income is generated as a final thing, asset purchased as a final thing, and profit generated as a final thing. All these three activities are intermediate, in between. Who pay? The one who receives. The one who receive income and the revenue. So if I'm receiving an income, monthly income, I will pay the income tax. If a corporate is earning an income, they will pay the corporate tax. The one who consumes finally. So the one who pay, right? One who consumes finally pay to the supplier. And then supplier pay to the government. So that's why it is indirect. Government charges GST on a shopkeeper. Shopkeeper convert this GST and forward it to the consumer. Who paid it? Consumer paid it. But who paid to the government? The shopkeeper. So the point is, who is receiving the payment? From the consumer, it is not the government who received it. We are not talking about reverse charges. From the consumer, it is the supplier, the shopkeeper who has received GST. But how government has received? It is from the shopkeeper. Tax incidence and tax burden. Who actually faces the burden of the tax? One who pay the tax, because obviously if I am paying the income tax, I am facing the burden. It is falling on me and I am paying. Here, fall on different entities, right? Imposes on the seller but collected from the buyer, obviously. So incidence falls on the seller, but the burden falls on the buyer. How much tax is paid? Proportion to the income, let's say 10%, 20%, 30% of the income, does not matter. So it is proportional, it is pole, does not matter. Whether you purchase 5 goods or you purchase 500 goods, if the GST is 5%, it will remain 5% only. It is not going to change with the amount of services or the goods that are being availed. Nature, it is progressive, yes. So income, direct taxes are not being paid by everyone, guys. They are being, higher direct taxes are paid by the higher income generators. If a person earns 1 crore rupees a year, he will pay very high tax. The one who does not earn that much of money will not pay. The poor person does not pay income tax. So it is progressive, increases with the income. Regressive, irrespective of the income, everyone pays the same amount. So whether you purchase a Parle-G or a billionaire purchase a Parle-G biscuit, both of you are paying the same income tax. For him, it is nothing. For, let's say, for a poor person, basic GST may be very high. So this is the basic difference. Then, impact on inflation. Increases the tax rate, reduces the demand pull inflation. Obviously. Whenever the government increases the tax, income reduces. When the income reduces, the demand will also fall. Obviously. Here, increase in the tax rate leads to the inflation, because whenever GST increases, cost of production increases, right? And whenever cost of production increases, cost push inflation comes. So this has a difference. It reduces inflation, it increases inflation. Then comes impact on inequality. Can help in redistribution of income. Taxing the rich, helping the poor. Over there, cannot. Everyone is paying the same GST. Impact on GDP. No direct impact, does have an impact. Why? Because direct impact, since GDP is calculated at the market prices. So market prices includes the taxes. If GST increases, market price also increases. When both of them increases, the GDP also gives us the, you can say, a changed numbers in that regard. Tax evasion, easy. It's easy, right? Anyone can say, I do not earn that much of income. They can take income in cash. Not possible over there. It is being calculated, it is digitized. Identification and collection, difficult to identify the taxpayers. Identifying the true nature or the true calculation of an income of a person is very hard, especially when in India there is high informalization and high unorganized sector. Over there, it's pretty easy, right? Identification is not needed all the way, because once a product is being sold, we know tax is being generated. Examples, these are the ones. So we have income tax, corporate tax, capital gain tax. I'm going to discuss all of them. Over there you have GST, union duties and others. So let's talk about types of taxes, types of direct taxes. Income tax, it is imposed on the income of a person, right? Could be individuals, could be households, could be Hindu undivided families, partnership firms, sole proprietors. All of them pay income tax. When it comes to the corporates, right, that is firms and the companies which are being registered, they pay corporate tax, their income also. The one who does not pay both of these, a firm or an individual who does not pay either of these, basically a corporate tax not paid, right? There are companies which are zero tax companies. They are so small that their book profits are not very high. So government usually skip them. These companies are very small, they do not have much sales, they do not have much revenue being generated. So for them, there is a specific rate which is known as MAT, minimum alternative tax, right? This is for those who escape the corporate tax and or pay very less. Then comes A, right, AMT, alternative minimum tax, same as the minimum alternative tax or MAT. But it is imposed on the commercial establishment other than the companies like partnership firms, etc. First one. So if somebody skip corporate tax, they pay MAT. If a partnership firms skip income tax, they pay AMT. Then comes capital gain tax, basically. If you have something as a capital asset, let's say stock, right? Stock market, a person has sold stocks, mutual funds and other things and made a capital gain. Gain on the capital. that person is now going to pay capital gain tax. I'm not going to talk about the rates because guys, rates actually changes every budget. Then comes securities transaction tax. Securities transaction tax is actually being calculated on the securities which are transacted on day-to-day basis. That is purchase and sale of securities listed on the recognized stock exchange, shares, bonds, mutual funds. Buying and selling. That's why here the word transaction is being used. In the previous case, it was gains. Here the tax is imposed only on the gain, right? Only on the gains, and that too after a particular threshold. Here it is on the transaction. Even if you are selling something, you have to pay the tax, whether it's a profit or not, whether it's a gain or loss, nobody cares. In the previous one, it was only gain. Now it is everything. Every time a person does a transaction in the securities, they have to pay it. Dividend distribution tax, wealth tax, they have been discontinued in 2020 and 2016, right? They have been discontinued, but you should know, dividend distribution tax was paid on the dividend. Every company paid dividend to their employees, right? Owners and others. So those dividends were taxable. Wealth tax, everyone who has a wealth, right? Let's say huge house, too much of cash, too much of gold, right? Ancestral wealth, they will be paying wealth tax. Both of them have been discontinued now. Digital tax imposed on the digital services like YouTube, Facebook, they are providing too much of advertisement these days. So they are earning from that, so they should pay tax. And professional tax. Now this is collected by the state government. Let me tell you that. It is collected by the state government and it's a fixed amount, right? It is paid by the professions like chartered accountants, lawyers, doctors and other professionals who are charging for their services. Yes, who are charging for their services, they pay profession taxes. So these are the basic taxes which are being functioning in India except these two, right? So this is the entire scene, guys. I have already discussed this in the budget video. So if you want to go to the union budget video, it is also given in the playlist in the video on our channel. If you want to go for the economic survey, so economic survey part 1, economic survey part 2 has already been discussed on our channel in the same link. So income tax, as you can see, income tax contribute 22% of India's total revenues. Excise duty 5%, GST 18%, corporation tax 17%, custom and other receipts 4%, 1 and 9%, borrowings and liability this. This gives us the clear picture, guys, that income tax is the largest source of income in India for the government. Now income tax is 22% followed by GST 18%. So in fact income tax is 4% more than the GST. And we know income tax is more equitable, more target based, right? So income tax collection is good sign for a growing economy. If the share of direct taxes increases over the indirect taxes, it's a very, very good sign. So together with corporation tax 17% and income tax 22%, Government of India is on a right track to reduce the incidence of taxes on the poor person with lower GST and higher on the income tax, which means that the per capita income is also rising in India. Now, given this understanding, guys, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm Jateen Bharadwaj. I'm starting a new batch. I've already completed one batch. I'm starting a new batch for the Economy GS Foundation. You can take this batch if you are preparing for UPSC examination, if you are preparing for state PCS examination or any other specific examination where economy is being asked. The link for this batch or this number and all the details are being mentioned in the description box. Click the link, go through the form, go all through the details which are mentioned over there. I'm going to provide you over 100 hours of economics teaching, over 500 prelims related questions and 100 of mains related question in this particular learning, and of course one-to-one mentoring with you as well. And of course, if you have not joined our different handles, so you can join our different handles on WhatsApp, Telegram and of course this YouTube one. These different channels provides you daily updates on current affairs, important MCQ discussions, and updated notes as well. So if you are preparing for UPSC or any other state PCS and other competitive examination where economy is important, guys, don't miss out on these channels. I'll see you in the next week's weekly current affairs. Till then, stay with us and follow important news and articles and the videos which are being published. Thank you, everyone.